in the middle of chapter 20. The story of this chapter is about David's final rebellion, I should say, where David had enough rebellions, so to speak, until now, but for some reason he needed another rebellion, and this is the rebellion of Sheva ben Bichri. And
it's not his rebellion, it's a rebellion against him.
He had a rebellion against him. Okay. And he didn't even make it back yet to his hometown, and already this rebellion, Sheva ben Bichri started his rebellion. So he's really could use some. You would think he could use some time to to get back in order after the 6-month rebellion of Avshalom that against him, and yet he's put to task right away before he even gets back to figure out what to do, make some decisions on how to deal with the rebellion of Sheva ben Bichri. And we all know that Sheva ben Bichri was a very wicked person. It's called a Ish B'liyal, someone who loves war and fighting and arguing, and doesn't have the yoke of heaven. And the story seems that he really was quite successful in getting the people to follow him. And as I mentioned last week, there is a connection between this chapter and the previous chapter, and that is that the people that were not part of the tribe of Judah were insulted, and they felt that the king should have stuck up for them when they were slighted, when they were not really invited or they weren't told to participate in the escorting of the king. And so therefore they had that negative feeling towards the king. And in addition, maybe to the fact that they were nervous of the fact that they were people who had joined Avshalom initially. So, they had a chip on their shoulder because they knew they were also wrong for what they did. And now they were insulted that they weren't respected for wanting to participate or invited to participate. And, excuse me.
Vacuum.
Thank you. So, so in any event, they all joined Sheva ben Bichri, and he's quite successful. We did have a verse here that was a little vague, verse 14. It was unclear who passed through all of the tribes, but one of the interpretations, I guess the more common interpretation, Rashi and the Radak both say it's referring to Sheva ben Bichri, that he was trying to encourage everyone to join him, to accept him as their leader. So it sounds like he's been quite successful. There is another interpretation in verse 14 that it was Yoav who was traveling and trying to get people to join the army. But in any event, Yoav continued, and as we learned last week, he did end up passing his competitor Amasa. Somehow their paths they somehow ended up meeting each other on the way, and Amasa was supposed to be preparing an army for David HaMelech, and Yoav was quite shocked that Amasa didn't look at all in any rush. He didn't look like he was trying to get an army together. It looked like he was just taking it easy. In other words, he got this position of being the commander-in-chief, and he's not doing anything. And Yoav felt that he is rebelling against the king, and as we mentioned last week, he might have had some personal. There might have been some personal issues that he had because Amasa, had taken over his position, and so Yoav might have had some jealousy that he. In addition to the fact that Amasa had all along been with Avshalom, so Amasa was not. Yoav had a certain grudge against him anyway, and now he's now his competitor, so to speak. He took over his position and caused him to be demoted, not necessarily the full cause. His actions caused him to be demoted, but the fact that there was a alternative option does take some of the blame for him being demoted. So Amasa, accepted that position, but yet here it doesn't look like he's doing anything. So Yoav kills him, and then Yoav just rushes on. Yoav and Avishai rush on to try to work dealing with the rebellion. In the meantime, they couldn't stop all the soldiers from. The soldiers couldn't move forward because they saw Amasa, who was just wallowing in his blood, and and it was just a terrible scene. And finally, one of the servants brought him to the side and put a garment over him and encouraged everyone to keep going. And when he was removed from the road, they moved forward, they moved on and followed Yoav to fight Sheva ben Bichri. And then we dealt with where they came. They came to this place called Avel Beis Macha, and it's somewhere in the northern border of Israel. I'm not familiar with where it is, but supposedly there's an archaeological site on this place called Avel Beis Macha. So if any of you are familiar with the land of Israel and the archaeology, there is supposedly some place there called Avel Beis Macha. Anyway, it's somewhere north, and that's where this took place. And this is where Sheva ben Bichri found this city that he was a walled city that he felt he was safe in. And so he is hiding out in the city, and Yoav arrives shortly thereafter, and they make a siege around the city, and then they poured a ramp, and now all they need to do is break the inner wall, and this way they will be able to basically take over the city. So what it seems is that Yoav has in mind to just wipe out the city. After all, they are accomplices to the criminal. They are helping this criminal, Sheva ben Bichri. They are supporting him because they even allowed him in their city to take refuge. And so Yoav seems like he's ready to just destroy the whole city. Now, here we have, we're up to verse, I believe we're up to verse 16. So we're in chapter 20 of Shmuel Beis, chapter 20, verse 16. A wise woman called out from the city, "Listen, listen, please say to Yoav, come close to here so that I may speak to you." So here is this woman who's going to try to make peace. Very courageous woman. And so she asks for Yoav. Verse 17, so he drew close to her, and the woman said, "Are you Yoav?" He said, "Yes, I am." She said, "Hear the words of your maidservant." And he said, I am listening. She spoke on, saying, your men should have spoken at the start. Let them inquire in Avel, the city, about surrender, for they would have made peace. I represent the loyal, faithful people of Israel. You are seeking to annihilate a city and a metropolis in Israel. Why will you swallow up the heritage of Hashem? This is a very interesting situation here, where this woman is telling Yoav off a halacha, and here we find some of the we find again this unique situation where a woman is teaching a big scholar the halacha that maybe Yoav might have forgotten or wasn't planning on, or for whatever reason, maybe had a reason why he didn't think he was obligated to do. But there is a halacha that you're supposed to, even for a non-Jewish city, you're supposed to start with peace before you destroy them and offer them peace. You know, you can either leave or we're going to conquer your city. And she is saying, this is a Jewish city, and you never even offered us peace. This is similar to we had a story earlier about Abigail, who ended up marrying David HaMelech, and she is the one who rebuked David HaMelech about his wanting to kill Naval, her husband. And she rebuked him, right? So we have here's another woman who is rebuking Yoav and telling him, you know, you never offered us peace, which is one of the mitzvahs to start when you conquer a city. You're supposed to first try to be peaceful. And she says some interesting words. She says, I am Shlume Emune Yisrael, which is Shlume is like a completion, or the trustworthy. Emunim, I live here, and we are shleimim, we are complete, and we are the faithful ones of Israel. Now, the Medrash tells us that who is this woman? This woman is Serach Bas Asher. This is the daughter of Asher, the leader of the tribe, the origin of the tribe, Asher. That she is the daughter. She was born when they entered. She was actually the one who brought the good news to Jacob that Yosef is still alive. Serach Bas Asher. She is someone who she used to play the harp, and she played the harp in front of her grandfather Jacob, and told him that Joseph is still alive. Now, so she is quite old. She is hundreds of years old. The Abarbanel gives a number of 684, and I saw another number given that's 800 years old. I didn't make my own calculation, so I have to look it up and see if why there seems to be a difference. But anyway, she's definitely many hundreds of years old, and she was given a blessing by her grandfather that she should live a long life because she brought such good news to him that Joseph is still alive. So Jacob gave her this blessing, and we know how powerful Jacob's blessings were. Jacob blessed the king of Egypt. Jacob came to Egypt when there was supposed to be a famine for 7 years, and Jacob blessed the king, and the famine stopped after 2 years, even though it was officially supposed to last for 7 years. Here again, Jacob blessed, another story of Jacob's blessing. Jacob blessed Serach Bas Asher, and she lived a very, very long life. And here she is giving rebuke to Yoav and saying, why haven't you given us the option of making peace? and she calls herself Shlume. Shlume, which the Medrash says refers to Hishlamti Ne'eman L'Ne'eman. I was able to help out, complete the faithful one to the faithful one, which means she helped when they left Egypt. She helped Moses find Joseph's bones, because she was there all along. She was there before they arrived in Egypt. She was there when Joseph died, and she was there when they left Egypt. And basically, she helped Moses. So Hishlamti Ne'eman L'Ne'eman refers to the helping Moses find Joseph's bones, and she is the one who told Jacob about Joseph being alive, and here she is the one who's going to help out save this entire city. Now, the verse continues and mentions that Yoav's answer. So, verse 20. Yoav answered and said, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. So why does he say Chalila twice? So one is, far be it from me, from myself, far be it from David. Shouldn't be, this should not be done as an emissary of the king, and that we would kill a city without offering peace. And Yoav says, sure. The matter is not so. Rather, a man from Mount Ephraim, his name is Sheva ben Bichri, has raised up his hand against the king, against David. Turn over him alone, and I will go away from the city. I don't have to kill out the whole city. I just want to get that one person, Sheva ben Bichri. The woman that said to Yoav, behold, his head will be thrown to you over the wall. So here she basically tells us that she is going to make sure that he is given over to them. So they should be all set. There shouldn't be any issue. He is going to be killed, and you will be all set, I should say. He will be killed, and we'll hand him over. And this is an interesting question in halacha, and it's brought in. There's a famous Tosefta about this, where are you allowed to give someone over? Someone's going to get killed, and they ask for him, and if not, they're going to destroy the city. And there seems to be a argument if the person is deserving of the death penalty or not. Normally, you can't just, they say, hand over one of you, or we're going to kill out the city. You don't hand anyone over. But if they say someone specific, then you would be allowed to hand that person over, according to some opinions. According to other opinions, it would only be if that person really is deserving of the death penalty.
Rabbi.
And just one second. So this argument, which is an argument in the Tosefta, it ends up being an argument between the Rambam and the Ramah in Jewish law. In other words, it expresses those different. The code of law, according to one opinion, follows. One opinion says it follows one view. The other opinion says it follows the other view. The Rambam says it only applies if the person is liable to the death penalty. But it seems like the other opinions, and the Ramah included, disagrees and says that even if that person, if they're asking for one person, we specifically want to save we will save the entire group and just give over that person. Normally, you never hand someone over, but this would be an exception, and this would be a possibly a source. The fact that this Sheva, the Serach Bas Asher is agreeing to hand over Sheva ben Bichri. Yes, Moshe.
Shimshon was also in this situation where they were going to hand him over. A very similar situation.
Right. The prohibition of handing someone over, it's called and it applies. I should mention it applies not only physically handing someone over. There's also a concept of not giving information over to cause a Jew to be targeted by the goyim, and that's called a meiser. And literally, meiser means to hand over, but it doesn't only mean to hand over physically. It could also be to hand over information and tell the government that this person is not paying taxes, or that person is not, is doing this crime or that crime, and it's a terrible sin. Meiser, it's considered a terrible, terrible sin. And here we have it where the whole city could be killed instead of handing someone over. You have such a concept. In this specific case, because they asked only for Sheva ben Bichri, we didn't have to allow the whole city to be killed. But if they didn't ask for Sheva ben Bichri, if Yoav hadn't asked for Sheva ben Bichri, it would have been an issue possibly of handing him over, except for the fact that it's Sheva ben Bichri who maybe who did deserve the death penalty because he was a moired b'malchus, he was rebellious against the king, and so this this was an exception to the rule, but the general concept is that we are not allowed to hand someone over. Now, so the story here continues with Serach Bas Asher figuring out how, now this old lady, how is she going to get Sheva ben Bichri's head, especially because you have to understand that everyone is on the side in this city. Everyone is siding with Sheva ben Bichri. They're upset at David HaMelech. Of course, they have this whole long list of claims against David that they've possibly used when they had the same list with Avshalom, that the reason why they followed Avshalom before, now they're following Sheva ben Bichri. So they have like a whole bunch of claims probably against David, and they've all joined Sheva ben Bichri. So they're all on the side of Sheva ben Bichri. It's a very political situation here, where she's going to be fighting she's fighting for the wrong party, because what is she asking them to do? Hand over their main candidate. This is their candidate who they want, and she's going to tell them to hand Sheva ben Bichri over, and she's convinced that she's going to do it. So there seem to be two midrashic paths to take of what she told them, and one of the understandings is that she simply told them that you're all going to get killed. There's no hope. We're all going to die if we don't. Either we hand him over, and which we're allowed to do, or he's going to die. He's going to die either way. And just the issue is maybe we'll also die. So we ought to just choose, to hand him over instead of all getting killed. And there's another midrashic source that emphasizes that there was sort of a negotiations going on with where she at least presented it as if she was negotiating. How many people are they willing, if we give them a certain amount of people, will they agree? And so she's going back and forth trying to sort of like get get her town to agree, and getting Yoav to lower it, lessen the number of individuals that she's going to hand over. And finally, she gets Yoav to agree to only Sheva ben, as long as you just give me Sheva ben Bichri, it'll be fine. So she presents it as if she's doing this great, she's doing great bargaining. She's a really good deal maker and bargainer. And she finally, and so she makes it as if they really want a lot. Many of us are going to die, 1,000 of us, and then 500 of us. And then she makes it that she presents it in a very serious way where, I mean, we're all going to die. We ought to give 1,000 people over just to them. And this way, at least we'll live. And then she lowers it to 500, and they seem to get more accepting of this deal that she seems to be making. And then she finally gets it down to just give us Sheva ben Bichri, just give us the main guy himself, the rebel. And anyway, and this is what it means in her wisdom, in verse 22. In her wisdom, the woman then went to all the people, and they cut off the head of Sheva, the son of Bichri, and threw it to Yoav. So the question is, why did they kill him? Why didn't they just give him alive? Why did they have to go through the actual killing him? So one of the commentaries mentions that because they were afraid that maybe he would have been tortured. So instead, they killed him. But basically, she was able to make this arrange this peacefully, and right after they handed Sheva ben Bichri's head over, threw it over, he sounded the shofar, and they all disbanded from the city, every man to his tents. In other words, who are we talking about here? We're talking about the soldiers. They all left. They didn't want to fight. Once they got who they needed, no more need to fight. And Yoav then returned to Jerusalem to the king. And verse 23 then talks about who was now in charge of the army after the rebellion is over. Yoav was the commander of the entire army of Israel, with Benayahu ben Yehoiada over the archers and the slingers. And then it talks about some other names. And the point here is interesting that Yoav seems to have gotten his position back, surprisingly, because he did this terrible thing by killing Amasa. And you would think that David would be doubly upset that Yoav, what Yoav did. Not only did he already demote him, but now he even killed Amasa. And but what we see here is that Yoav was he was given his position back and rehired, what it seems is that there was no one better. And it seems like the community agreed, and Yoav had accomplished this, put down the rebellion of Sheva ben Bichri. So he has a whole line of accomplishments, and a whole track record of accomplishments. And it seems that the people maybe were, happy with Yoav, that he, with all of his accomplishments. And so ultimately, he did get his position back. Okay, I'm going to